The rain on Kara 7 was not like normal rain. It burned. It ate through metal if you left it out too long. It made the air smell like old batteries and made your eyes water even through a helmet. Most species in the Galactic Coalition needed special suits just to walk outside when it rained on this planet. Sergeant Taeho Kim stood in the rain without a helmet. "Is he insane?" whispered Xylan, the reptilian marine, to his squad mate. His scaled hands gripped his plasma rifle tighter. As he watched the human work, the acid will burn his skin. Commander Veltar clicked his mandibles together, a sign of worry among his insect-like species. The humans say they can handle it. Their skin is ... different. Taeho was building a wall. The base needed better protection from the local animals, and someone had to place the heavy concrete blocks. Each block weighed as much as to alien marines. Taeho picked them up like boxes and set them in place. The rain ran down his face and arms, but his skin only turned a little red. "This is not normal," said Corvex, the crystal being. His voice sounded like wind chimes. "On my world, acid rain would kill us in minutes." "On any world," Xylan replied. "Any normal world." But Earth was not normal. Everyone in the Coalition knew this now. Earth was what they called a death world, a planet so dangerous that only crazy things could live there, and humans were the craziest things of all. The Coalition had only met humans 2 years ago. At first they thought it was a mistake. How could anything smart live on a planet with acid oceans, poison air, and animals that ate each other? But humans were not only smart, they were very good at fighting. Too good that scared the other species. Kim called Lieutenant Junwoo Lee. "The supply drop is coming in 20 minutes. Can you finish the wall?" "Yes, sir," Taeho called back. He did not stop working. He just moved faster. Xylan watched in amazement. When his people worked hard, they got tired and had to rest. When they got scared, they froze up. When they got hurt, they stopped everything and called for help. But humans were different. When humans worked hard, they worked harder. When they got scared, they got angry. When they got hurt, they kept going. This made no sense to any alien species. Corporal Haewon Park walked up to the group of watching aliens. She was the unit medic. Small and quiet, but her eyes were always watching everything. "You guys look worried," she said. "We are trying to understand," Commander Veltar said. His translator made his clicking sounds into words. "How does he work? In the acid rain. Why does he not stop to rest?" Haewon looked at Taeho, who was now stacking his 15th concrete block. "Oh, that's just Taeho. He doesn't like leaving jobs half done, but the pain, ... Xylan said. "What pain?" Haewon asked. "The acid it must burn." Haewon shrugged. "A little. We call it tingly. You get used to it." The aliens looked at each other. Getting used to acid rain was not something any of them could imagine. A loud roar came from the jungle. It was deep and angry, the kind of sound that made smart creatures run away. All the aliens immediately raised their weapons and looked for cover. Tae-Ho did not even look up. He kept working. "Razorcat," he said like he was talking about the weather. "Probably about 2 kilometers away, maybe 3. How can you tell?" Corvex asked, his crystal body flashing with nervous light. "Sound," Taeho said. He placed another block. "They roar different when they're hunting versus when they're just mad. This one is just mad. Probably someone took its food." Another roar, closer this time. "Make that 1 kilometer," Taeho said. He still did not stop working. The aliens were all looking at the jungle now, weapons ready. Razorcats were 3 meters long and had claws that could cut through armor. They were one of the most dangerous animals on Kara 7. "Should we not prepare for attack?" Commander Veltar asked. "Now," said Taeho. He wiped sweat and rain from his face. "It's not coming this way. Can you hear how the roar echoes? It's moving south, toward the river. Probably chasing those jumping fish." Lieutenant Junwoo walked over. "Everything okay here?" "Razorcat," Xylan said, his voice tight with worry. "Yeah, I heard it," Junwoo said. "Sounds like it's going away from us." "How do you know?" Xylan demanded. Jun-Woo and Taeho looked at each other. "You just ... Listen," Junwoo said. "You learn the sounds." This was another thing that confused the aliens. Humans seemed to understand danger without being afraid of it. They heard a deadly predator and somehow knew exactly what it was doing and where it was going. Other species heard the same sound and could only think about running. The supply drop arrived on schedule. The transport ship landed carefully, its pilot nervous about the acid rain and dangerous wildlife. Captain So-Young Choi jumped out of the ship before it fully landed. "Status report," she called. "Wall is almost done," Taeho reported. "Should be finished in an hour." "Good. We need those supply crates moved to storage before the next rain starts." The supply crates were huge, each one the size of a small vehicle. The aliens needed special equipment to move them. They had gravity lifts and mechanical arms and powered suits. Taeho walked over to the first crate and picked it up. "By the void," whispered Corvex. "He is lifting it alone." "Humans are strong," Commander Veltar said. But even he sounded unsure. Taeho carried the crate across the base to the storage building. It took him 3 minutes. When he came back for the second crate, he was not even breathing hard. "This is not just strength," Xylan said. "This is something else." Dr. Manesio Jung, the human doctor, overheard. What's confusing you now? She asked. Your species, Xylan said honestly. You work in acid rain like it is nothing. You lift weights that should require machines. You hear predators and know exactly what they are doing. Are you sure you are not machines yourselves? Dr. Jung laughed. We're definitely not machines. We just ... adapt. Adapt, where it changed to fit the situation. If it's raining acid, we work faster to get done. If something is heavy, we get stronger. If there's danger, we learn to recognize it. But how? Dr. Jung thought for a moment. On Earth, everything is trying to kill you. The weather, the animals, the plants, even the air in some places. So we learn to handle problems instead of avoiding them. She pointed at Tejo, who was now on his 4th supply crate. Tejo grew up in mountains where the air is thin and the cold can freeze you. In minutes, his body learned to work with less oxygen and more cold. His mind learned to keep going when things get hard. What happens when he cannot adapt? Xylan asked. Dr. Jung smiled, but it was not a happy smile. Then he adapts anyway. That's what humans do. The aliens watched Tejo work for the rest of the day. He finished the wall, moved all the supply crates, helped repair a damaged communications array, and cleaned his equipment. When the day ended, he sat down to eat with the other humans, talking and laughing like he had spent the day relaxing instead of working in acid rain. That night, in their quarters, the alien Marines talked quietly among themselves. I do not understand them, Xylan said. None of us do, Commander Veltar replied. They are ... different. Different how? Asked Corvex. They do not break, Veltar said slowly. When things get hard, we look for ways to make them easier. We use tools, we ask for help, we change the situation. But humans ... they change themselves. Is that good or bad? Corvex wondered. I do not know, Veltar admitted, but I think we are about to find out. Outside, the acid rain continued to fall, and somewhere in the jungle, razor cats roared their hunting songs. On any other world, with any other species, this would be a night for staying inside and hoping for safety. But this was Kara 7, and humans were here now, and humans, as everyone was beginning to learn, did not hope for safety. They made it themselves. The briefing room was too small for 18 Marines. 6 humans sat on one side, 12 aliens on the other. The air recycler worked hard to handle so many different breathing needs. Captain So Young Choi stood at the front, pointing at a map of the jungle. Intelligence says the hegemony is building a weapons factory here, she said, tapping a spot deep in the green. 50 kilometers through the worst part of Karasevan. If they finish it, they can attack 3 coalition worlds. Commander Veltar's mandibles clicked nervously. 50 kilometers through the death jungle. My people will need full environmental suits. Mine too, said Xylan. The poisonous plants alone could kill us. We know, So Young said. That's why we're going together. Humans can handle the environment. You have better sensors and communications. She pointed to different areas on the map. Acid swamps here, razor cat territory here, flying hunters here, and somewhere in between, hegemony patrols. Jinwoo Nam, the explosives expert, raised his hand. How big is this factory? Big, maybe 30 buildings, lots of guards. We need to get in, plant charges, and get out before they know we're there. The Genesio, the sniper, studied the map. 50 kilometers back through hostile territory with the enemy chasing us. Right? Soyoung said. Any questions? Corvex's crystal body flashed with worried light. What if someone gets hurt badly? The nearest medical facility is back here. We carry them, Tejo said simply. But what if they cannot walk? What if the injury is severe? Then we carry them, Tejo repeated. No one gets left behind. The aliens looked at each other. In their militaries, severe injury meant evacuation. You called for a ship, found a safe place, and waited for rescue. You did not carry wounded soldiers 50 kilometers through a death jungle. But humans, apparently, did. They left at dawn. The jungle was dark even in daylight, thick with plants that blocked the sun. The air was hot and wet and full of things that wanted to bite you. The aliens walked in environmental suits that covered them completely. They had air filters and temperature controls and poison detectors. They looked like walking machines. The humans wore light armor and breathing masks. That was all. Are you sure you are safe? Commander Veltar asked Tejo as they walked. Safe enough, Tejo replied. He pushed through a wall of thorny vines that would have cut alien skin to pieces. The plants here are not as bad as the ones near my hometown. Your hometown has worse plants than this, much worse. These just cut you. The ones at home dissolve your bones. Veltar decided he did not want to know more about human hometowns. After 2 hours they reached the acid swamps. The water was green and bubbling and it smelled like burning metal. Strange fish swam in it. Fish with too many teeth and no eyes. We need to cross here, Soyoung said, checking her map. The aliens stared at the deadly water. How? Xylan asked. Jinwoo was already cutting down trees. We build a bridge, he said. With what tools? Jinwoo held up a knife and a small saw. It took the humans 30 minutes to cut down enough trees and tie them together with rope. They built a bridge that looked like it might fall apart if you breathed on it wrong. That will not hold our weight, Korvax said. It will hold, the agent said. She walked across first, her rifle ready in case something in the swamp tried to eat her. Nothing did. The bridge held. One by one they all crossed. The aliens went slowly, sure the bridge would break. The humans walked across like they were on solid ground. On the other side, the jungle got worse. The trees were taller and darker. Strange sounds came from everywhere, clicks and howls and things that might have been screaming. Razor cats, Tejo said, hearing something the aliens missed. How many? So Young asked. 3, maybe 4. Young ones, I think. How can you tell they are young? Velta wanted to know. Their roars are higher. Adult razor cats sound deeper. A roar echoed through the trees, closer now. The aliens raised their weapons and formed a defensive circle, like they had been trained. The humans kept walking. Should we not prepare for combat? Zylan asked. Why? Jinwoo asked back. They're just curious. We're new smells in their territory. Another roar, from a different direction. Now there are 5, Tejo said calmly. 5 razor cats. Korvax's crystal body flashed bright red with alarm. Young ones, Thagin added, probably never seen aliens before. They're trying to figure out if we're food or predators. The aliens could not understand this. 5 deadly predators were stalking them, and the humans were discussing it like a nature documentary. What do we do? Velta asked. Keep walking, Soyoung said. Don't run, don't act scared. If they think we're afraid, they might attack. And if they attack anyway. Zylan's clawed hands gripped his weapon. Then we kill them, Tejo said matter-of-factly. But they probably won't. We're too big to be easy prey, and we're moving through their territory instead of staying to hunt. They'll follow us for a while and then get bored. The razor cats did follow them. The aliens could hear them moving through the trees, keeping pace with the group. Sometimes they saw yellow eyes watching from the shadows, but the humans were right. After an hour, the sounds faded away. The razor cats had found something more interesting to do. How did you know? Velta asked. Experience, Soyoung said. We've dealt with predators before, on Earth, on other worlds. Predators are predators. They all think the same way. The aliens were beginning to realize that humans did not just survive on their death world, they understood it. They knew how dangerous things thought and acted. They could predict what deadly creatures would do before the creatures knew themselves. This was not just adaptation. This was something deeper. Night fell while they were still walking. The jungle became a completely different place in the dark. Things that hid during the day came out to hunt. The aliens' night vision gear showed them shapes moving through the trees, shapes that did not look friendly. We should make camp, Commander Veltar suggested. Not yet, Soyoung said. We need to reach the high ground first. Down here, we're too easy to surround. They climbed for another hour, following a rocky path that hurt alien feet even through their boots. The humans climbed like they were born for it, never slipping, never needing to rest at the top of the ridge. They finally stopped. The aliens set up their camp with practiced efficiency sensors, defensive positions, communication equipment. The humans ate cold rations and went to sleep. Are they not worried about night attacks? Korvax asked Veltar quietly. I think they are always ready for attacks. Veltar replied. Look at how they sleep. The humans were sleeping but not deeply. Every small sound made their heads turn slightly. Their hands stayed near their weapons, even unconscious. They were ready to fight. They never truly rest. Zylan observed. Would you? Veltar asked. If you came from a world where everything wanted to kill you. During the night, something large moved through the jungle below them. It crashed through trees and roared challenges at the sky. The aliens woke up immediately, grabbing their weapons. The humans opened their eyes, listened for a moment, and went back to sleep. What was that? Korvax whispered. Hammerbeast, the Geen said without opening her eyes. Big herbivore, probably scared by something. Nothing to worry about. How do you know it will not attack us? Wrong diet. We don't smell like plants. In the morning they found the hammerbeast's tracks. Each footprint was bigger than an alien's entire body. The creature could have stepped on any of them without noticing, but the Jinn had been right. It had walked past their camp and continued into the deep jungle, looking for food that grew instead of food that bled. 50 kilometers, Soyoung announced, checking their position. We should reach the target by tomorrow night. The aliens looked back at the path they had traveled. One day through the death jungle, and they were all still alive. No one was hurt, no one was lost, and the humans acted like they were taking a pleasant walk through a park. How do they do it? Zylan asked Veltar privately. I am starting to think, Veltar replied, that we are asking the wrong question. What do you mean? Instead of asking how they survive, maybe we should ask how anything else survives on the same planet as them. Zylan thought about this as they prepared to continue deeper into the jungle. Behind them, the hammerbeast was still roaring somewhere in the distance. Ahead of them lay more dangers than any sane species would willingly face, but they were not traveling with any sane species. They were traveling with humans. And humans, as Zylan was learning, made their own definition of sanity. The hegemony weapons factory was bigger than the intelligence reports said. Much bigger. Captain Soyoung Choi lay on her stomach at the edge of the cliff, looking down through her scope. 30 buildings, they said. I count 50. Tejo crawled up beside her, and a lot more guards. How many? Jinwoo whispered. Too many for a quiet job, So-young replied. We're going to have to make some noise. The factory spread across a valley like a metal infection. Smokestacks pumped poison into the air. Conveyor belts moved weapons and ammunition between buildings. Guard towers watched every approach. The main reactor is there, the Jin pointed, to the center of the complex. If we can get Jinwoo close enough to plant charges, we can blow the whole thing, Jinwoo finished. But I need 15 minutes inside that building. Commander Veltar studied the factory through his own equipment. The defenses are too strong. We should call for backup. No time, So-young said. Intelligence says they're starting production tomorrow. Once those weapons are made, they'll be shipped to attack coalition worlds. Then how do we get inside? Taeho pointed to the east side of the factory. Service entrance there. Looks like it's only got 2 guards. Only 2. Xylan's voice was skeptical. What about sensors? Alarms? We'll deal with those when we get there, Taeho said. This was another thing the aliens found disturbing about humans. When faced with an impossible situation, humans did not spend time figuring out why it was impossible. They just started working on ways to make it possible. The plan is simple, So-young said. We split into 3 teams. Team 1, me, Taeho, and Jinwoo, goes for the reactor building. Team 2 creates a distraction on the north side. Team 3 secures our escape route. What kind of distraction? Asked KORVX. The Jin smiled, and the aliens decided they did not want to know what that smile meant. They moved at sunset, when the factory's shift change created confusion among the guards. The humans went first, slipping through the shadows like they were made of darkness themselves. The aliens followed, trying to move as quietly as their teachers. Their equipment made small. It sounds breathing apparatus, joint servos, communication gear, sounds that would have given them away instantly on any civilized world. But this was not a civilized world. The jungle was full of noise, insects buzzing, animals calling, wind through the trees. The factory's own sounds covered what little noise the aliens made. Team 3 reached the escape route first. Lieutenant Junwoo and 3 aliens took position at the vehicles they would need to get away. Team 2 moved to the north side. Dujin and her group began setting up what she called a very loud surprise. Team 1 approached the service entrance. 2 guards, as expected, Taeho whispered into his communicator. Both human-looking, probably hegemony slave soldiers. Can you take them quietly? So-young asked. Yes, the 2 guards never saw them coming. One moment they were standing at their posts, bored and tired from a long shift. The next moment they were unconscious on the ground. Doors locked, Jinwoo reported, examining the entrance. Electronic lock, military grade. Can you break it? Give me 2 minutes. While Jinwoo worked on the lock, Taeho and So-young watched for patrols. The factory was busy with late-shift workers moving between buildings. Most of them looked tired and unhappy. More slave soldiers, forced to work for the hegemony. Got it, Jinwoo whispered. The door slid open silently. They slipped inside. The reactor building was huge and filled with machinery that glowed with dangerous energy. Pipes and cables ran everywhere. The air hummed with power that made their teeth ache. Their So-young pointed to a cluster of control panels near the reactor core. Plant the charges there and there. When they blow, the whole system will overload. Jinwoo nodded and began unpacking his explosives. These were not simple bombs, they were precisely designed charges that would cause the reactor to destroy itself and everything around it. How long? Taeho asked. 10 minutes to place them, 5 minutes to set the timers. Do it. Taeho and So-young took positions at the entrances, watching for guards. The factory workers outside continued their jobs, unaware that death was being prepared in the building next to them. Charges placed, Jinwoo reported. Starting timer sequence. That was when everything went wrong. Alarms began screaming throughout the complex. Emergency lights flashed red. Over the loudspeakers a voice shouted orders in the hegemony language. They found Team 2, So-young said, listening to her communicator. That Jin's in trouble. Charges are set, Jinwoo called. 15 minutes until detonation. We need to go now. They ran for the exit, but it was too late. Guards were already moving toward the reactor building. Hegemony soldiers with heavy weapons and full armor. Back exit, Taeho said. There should be one on the other side. They fought their way through the building as more guards arrived. The hegemony soldiers were well trained and well equipped, but they made a mistake. They expected their enemies to take cover and fight defensively. Humans did not fight defensively. So-young and Taeho charged straight at the soldiers, using their superior speed and reflexes to get close before the heavy weapons could target them. Jinwoo followed, his smaller explosives clearing paths through groups of enemies. They reached the back exit just as a squad of hegemony elites arrived to stop them. Elite soldiers were different from regular troops. They had better armor, better weapons, and better training. Most importantly, they had plasma cannons, weapons that could punch through any personal armor and most light vehicles. Down, So-young shouted. The plasma cannon fired. The blast lit up the night like a small sun. When the light faded, there was a hole in the wall where Taeho had been standing. Taeho was on the ground, not moving. Taeho. Jinwoo ran to his friend. The plasma blast had hit Taeho's left arm directly. Everything from the elbow down was gone, turned to ash by the superheated energy. Burns covered his chest and face. Blood pooled under him by any reasonable standard. Taeho should have been unconscious from shock. Most alien species would have died instantly from trauma this severe. Taeho opened his eyes and tried to sit up. Stay down, Jinwoo said, pulling out his medical kit. You're hurt bad. How bad? Taeho asked. His voice was steady, like he was asking about the weather. Your arm ... Jinwoo started. Taeho looked at where his left arm used to be. He stared for a moment, then nodded like he was confirming something he already knew. Okay, he said. We need to go. You need medical attention, Jinwoo protested. Later. How long until the charges blow? 12 minutes. Then we go now. Taeho stood up. The movement should have been impossible. The blood loss alone should have dropped him. But he wrapped his bleeding stump with bandages from Jinwoo's kit, injected himself with combat stimulants, and picked up his rifle with his right hand. Can you fight? So-young asked. I can fight. More hegemony soldiers were coming. They could hear boots running toward their position. Taeho. Jinwoo said quietly. You lost your arm. I noticed, Taeho replied. I've still got the other one. He checked his rifle, loading a fresh magazine one-handed with practiced efficiency. We need to get to the extraction point. Can you cover me while I reload? Can I cover you? Jinwoo stared at his friend in amazement. My reload time is going to be longer now, Taeho explained patiently. I need someone to watch for enemies while I'm changing magazines. So-young shook her head in disbelief. Most people would be crying right now. Crying won't grow my arm back, Taeho said. We have a job to finish. The hegemony soldiers reached the back exit and found their comrades unconscious or dead. They also found blood on the ground. A lot of blood. One of them is badly wounded, the squad leader reported. They cannot have gone far. He was wrong. The humans were already halfway to the extraction point, moving fast through the jungle. Taeho kept pace with the others, his rifle ready in his remaining hand. Behind them, the weapons factory continued its alarms. Security teams spread out to search for the saboteurs. Guard towers swept the area with spotlights. 10 minutes to detonation, Jinwoo announced. Team 3, what's your status? So-young called into her communicator. Ready for pickup, Lieutenant Jinwoo replied. But we've got company coming. Hegemony vehicles, moving fast. We're almost there. They broke through the tree line and saw their extraction vehicles, armored transports that could handle the jungle terrain. Lieutenant Jinwoo and the alien marines were in defensive positions around them. Taeho. Commander Veltar saw the blood and missing arm by the void. What happened? Plasma cannon, Taeho said, climbing into the nearest vehicle. We need to move. The factory blows in 8 minutes. You need medical attention, Veltar insisted. I need to get away from the explosion, Taeho corrected. Medical attention can wait. The vehicles started moving, racing away from the factory as fast as the jungle paths allowed. Behind them, hegemony forces followed in their own vehicles, faster, more heavily armed transports that were gaining ground. 5 minutes to detonation, Jinwoo called out. We're not going to make it to safe distance, Junwoo reported from the lead vehicle. Yes we are, Taeho said. He was loading grenades into a launcher, doing it one-handed like he had been practicing for years. When the factory blows, the hegemony vehicles will be damaged too. We just need to survive the blast. And how do we do that? The factory explosion had damaged them more than anyone wanted to admit. Engine problems, broken axles, cracked armor. One by one they broke down and would not start again. We walk from here, Captain So-young announced. Commander Veltar looked at the jungle stretching endlessly ahead of them. 30 kilometers through hostile territory, on foot, right. With wounded, right. Veltar looked at Taeho, who was sitting on a rock and calmly reorganizing his equipment for one-handed use. The human had lost a limb 6 hours ago. He should be in a medical facility, unconscious from pain medication, with doctors working to save his life. Instead, he was figuring out how to carry his pack with one arm. This is insane, Xylan said quietly to Corvex. He cannot march 30 kilometers in his condition. Should we not call for medical evacuation? Corvex asked. With what? Xylan gestured at their damaged communication equipment. The explosion fried half-hour electronics. We have short-range communicators only. Then we carry him. They both looked at Taeho again. He had finished with his pack and was now modifying his rifle sling so he could carry it across his back while keeping his right hand free. I do not think he will let us carry him, Corvex observed. He was right. I can walk, Taeho said when Corporal Haewon suggested he ride on an improvised stretcher. Save your energy for someone who needs it. You need it, Haewon insisted. You lost a lot of blood. I took stimulants. I'm fine for now. For now, what about in 10 hours? What about when the stimulants wear off? Taeho shrugged with his remaining shoulder. I'll take more stimulants. Dr. Manesio Jung knelt beside him and checked his bandages. That's not how medical treatment works. It's how field medicine works, Taeho replied. We get home first, then we worry about proper treatment. Getting home might kill you maybe, but staying here will definitely kill all of us. Dr. Jung could not argue with that logic. The hegemony would send more forces to investigate the factory's destruction. They needed to be far away when that happened. At least let me give you better pain medication, she said. Pain tells me when something is wrong, Taeho said. I need to know if I'm making the injury worse. You mean you want to feel the pain? I want to know what my body is telling me. The aliens found this disturbing. In their cultures, pain was something to be eliminated as quickly as possible. Why would anyone choose to feel it? But as they began the long march home, they started to understand. Taeho's injury was severe, but he knew exactly how severe. He could feel when he was pushing too hard, when he needed to slow down, when the bleeding was getting worse. The pain was information, and humans used information to survive. How is he walking? Zealand asked Lieutenant Junwoo as they moved through the jungle. Carefully, Junwoo replied. He's listening to his body, but the blood loss, he's managing it. Drinking water, eating high-energy food, resting when he needs to. This is not normal. Junwoo looked at the alien marine. What's normal for your species when someone gets hurt? We treat the injury first. Pain medication, medical support, evacuation to proper facilities. And if you can't evacuate, Zylan thought about this. Then we wait for rescue. What if rescue doesn't come? Then we die, right? Junwoo said. Humans don't wait for rescue. We rescue ourselves. The first day of marching was hard but manageable. They made good time through relatively open jungle, avoiding predators and hegemony patrols. Taeho kept pace with the group, though everyone could see he was working harder than the others. The aliens watched him constantly. They expected him to collapse, to give up, to finally admit that his injury was too severe for him to continue. Instead, he adapted. When his pack became too heavy for his injured side, he redistributed the weight. When his rifle became awkward to carry one-handed, he modified the sling. When eating became difficult, he switched to foods he could manage with one hand. He is changing his behavior to match his capabilities. Commander Velter observed to Dr. Jung. That's what humans do, she replied. We adapt. But the psychological trauma... What trauma? Losing a limb, the shock, the grief, the adjustment period. Dr. Jung looked at Taeho, who was helping Jinwoo navigate a difficult section of trail. He'll grieve later. Right now he has a job to do. How can he just ignore such a significant loss? He's not ignoring it. He's prioritizing. Survival first, emotions later. This was another alien concept to the other species. When they experienced trauma, they needed time to process it emotionally before they could function again. Humans seemed to function first and process later. Or maybe Veltar thought humans processed trauma by continuing to function. The second day was harder. The jungle became thicker, the terrain more difficult. They had to cross rivers, climb steep slopes, and navigate through areas where the trees grew so close together that sunlight never reached the ground. Taeho's condition was getting worse. He was pale, his movements were slower, and his breathing was more labored, but he did not complain, and he did not ask for help. We should stop, Haewon said during a rest break. He needs medical attention. I'm fine, Taeho said automatically. You're not fine. You're getting weaker. I'm getting tired. There's a difference. What difference? Taeho thought for a moment. Tired means I need rest. Weak means I can't do the job. I can still do the job. To prove his point, he stood up and adjusted his pack for the next section of march. His movements were careful and deliberate, but they were still confident. This is madness, Zylan said to Korvex. Is it? Korvex replied. Look at him. Really look. Zylan watched Taeho check his equipment and prepared to continue. What am I supposed to see? He is not pretending to be uninjured. He knows exactly how badly he is hurt, but he is working within his limitations instead of being stopped by them. That makes no sense, does it not? How many times have you seen injured soldiers give up completely, become helpless because they could not do everything they could do before? Zylan thought about this. In his experience, soldiers who lost limbs needed extensive rehabilitation before they could return to duty. Many never returned at all. But Taeho had not lost his ability to be a soldier. He had lost his left arm. Those were different things. The third day brought new challenges. A storm moved through the jungle, bringing the acid rain that made this planet so dangerous. The aliens huddled in their environmental suits, waiting for the storm to pass. The humans kept marching. Are you insane? Velta called over the sound of the rain. The acid will burn you a little, Soyoung called back. But the hegemony won't expect us to move in this weather. It's good cover. Good cover. It is death only if you let it be. They marched through the acid rain for 6 hours. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans' skin turned red and their equipment showed signs of corrosion. But they never stopped moving. Taeho was the most affected. His injury made it harder for him to protect himself from the rain, and the acid made his bandages sting and burn. But he wrapped his stump in extra protection and kept going. Why? Velta asked him during a brief rest. Why do this to yourself? Because stopping here means dying here, Taeho replied simply. I'd rather be uncomfortable and alive than comfortable and dead, but the pain... Pain is temporary. Death is permanent. That night, they made camp on high ground that offered some protection from the weather and predators. The aliens set up their sensors in defensive positions while the humans tended to their acid burns and equipment damage. Tejo sat apart from the others, changing his bandages. The aliens could see that his injury was getting worse, infected, probably, and definitely not healing properly. We have medical supplies, Korvax offered. Advanced healing compounds. Thank you, Tejo said, accepting the alien medicine, but save most of it for someone who might need it more. Who could need it more than you? Tejo gestured toward the jungle around them. Anyone who gets hurt tomorrow. I'm mobile and functional. That's enough for now. Functional. You lost your arm. I lost my left arm, Tejo corrected. I still have my right arm, both legs, my eyes, my brain, and my training. That's more than enough to get home. The aliens exchanged glances. By their standards, Tejo was severely disabled. By his standards, he was operating at reduced capacity but still operational. The difference in perspective was enormous. On the fourth day, they encountered the most dangerous obstacle yet, a canyon too wide to go around and too deep to climb. Down the only way across was a series of narrow rock bridges that looked like they would crumble if you looked at them wrong. Technical climbing, the Jinn announced, studying the crossing. We need ropes and anchors. I can rig it, Tejo said. Everyone stared at him. You want to do technical climbing with one arm? Jinwoo asked. I want to get across the canyon, Tejo replied. Climbing is just the method, but the risk ... is the same for all of us. The rocks don't care how many arms I have. Tejo spent an hour studying the crossing, planning his route and calculating anchor points. Then he began to work. Watching him was like watching someone reinvent climbing. Every technique had to be modified for the base medical center had never seen anything like it. Sergeant Tejo Kim sat on the examination table, calmly answering questions, while 3 alien doctors stared at their instruments in confusion. His vital signs were stable. His blood pressure was normal. His brain showed no signs of psychological trauma or shock. According to every medical standard in the Galactic Coalition, this was impossible. Run the scan again. Dr. Velinix, the Cathara medical officer, clicked to his assistant. I have run it 5 times, the assistant replied. The results are the same. Then the equipment is broken. Dr. Manesio Jung looked up from Teo's injury. The equipment is fine. He's just human. Humans do not recover from traumatic limb loss this quickly, Dr. Velinix insisted. The psychological adjustment alone should take months. What adjustment? Tejo asked. The acceptance of your disability, the grief process, the relearning of basic tasks. Tejo looked confused. I'm not disabled. I'm missing an arm. That is the definition of disabled. No, Tejo said patiently. Disabled means I can't do my job. I can still do my job. Dr. Valinix's mandibles clicked in frustration. You lost a limb, right? And I adapted to not having it. What's the problem? The problem, as the entire medical staff was beginning to realize, was that humans had a completely different relationship with injury than any other known species. Commander Veltar entered the medical bay, followed by a small group of high-ranking coalition officers. Word of the mission had spread quickly through the command structure, and everyone wanted to understand what had happened. Status report. He requested. Physically, Sergeant Kim is stable. Dr. Jung replied. The injury is healing properly. He's a good candidate for a prosthetic arm. And psychologically, that's where it gets interesting. Dr. Velinix pulled up a brain scan on his display. We have tested him for trauma, depression, anxiety, and adjustment disorders. The results show ... nothing, no psychological distress, no emotional trauma, no cognitive impairment. According to our tests, losing his arm has had no significant impact on his mental state. General Carthex, a massive reptilian being, leaned forward. Are humans immune to psychological trauma? No, Dr. Jung said. We just process it differently. How differently? Tejo answered for himself. We deal with problems when we have time to deal with them. During the mission, I had more important things to worry about than my missing arm. And now I'm getting a new arm and going back to work. The alien officers looked at each other in bewilderment. In their experience, soldiers who suffered major injuries needed extensive rehabilitation, not just physical, but mental and emotional. Support groups, counseling, gradual reintegration into their units. Tejo wanted to skip all of that and go straight back to active duty. Perhaps General Carthex suggested carefully, you should take some time to process this experience. Process what? The loss, the trauma, the life-changing nature of your injury. Tejo thought about this seriously. My life hasn't changed that much. I'll need to learn some new ways to do things, but the basics are the same. I'm still a Marine. I'm still a combat engineer. I'm still part of my unit, but your capabilities ... double quotes are different now. Not gone, just different. Corporal Hay-1 entered the medical bay carrying a small package. The prosthetic arm arrived, she announced already. Dr. Velinix was surprised. That was remarkably fast. Human military medicine is efficient, Dr. Jung explained. I had a lot of practice with battlefield injuries. The prosthetic was a work of art, advanced coalition technology adapted for human physiology. It looked almost exactly like a real arm, with full sensory feedback and neural interface capabilities. It will take weeks to learn to use properly, Dr. Velenix warned as the technicians began the fitting process. Taiho flexed the prosthetic fingers experimentally. Feels good. How do I reload my rifle with it? You should start with simple tasks, the technician suggested, picking up objects. Basic manipulation. I need to know how to reload my rifle. The technician looked helplessly at Dr. Zheng, who shrugged. Show him. 20 minutes later, Taiho was field stripping and reassembling his weapon with the prosthetic arm. His movements were slower than before, but they were sure and confident. Remarkable, breathed General Carthex. Most soldiers require months of rehabilitation. Most soldiers aren't human, Commander Veltar observed. Word of Taiho's recovery spread through the base like wildfire. Alien Marines came to the medical bay just to see the human who had lost an arm and acted like nothing had happened. They watched him practice with his prosthetic, adapt his equipment, and prepare to return to duty. It is not natural, Xylan said to Corvex as they observed from the doorway. What is natural? Corvex replied. For my species, losing a limb means death. The shock alone would kill us. For mine, it means permanent disability. We would never fight again. But humans treat it like a problem to be solved. They watched Taiho explain his equipment modifications to a group of fascinated alien engineers. He showed them how he had reorganized his gear for one-handed operation, how he had developed new techniques for climbing and fighting, how he had turned a disability into a different set of capabilities. He is teaching them, Corvex realized. Teaching them how to adapt, how to continue functioning when things go wrong. Why would they need to know that? Corvex's crystal body flickered thoughtfully. Perhaps because we have been thinking about problems the wrong way. 3 days later, Taiho was declared fit for duty. The prosthetic arm had integrated perfectly with his nervous system, and his combat skills were back to normal, different but equally effective. I want to make a request, he said to Commander Veltar. What kind of request? I want to train mixed species units in adaptation techniques. Adaptation techniques, how to keep fighting when things go wrong, how to work with injuries, how to solve problems instead of avoiding them. Veltar's mandibles clicked in consideration. You think other species can learn human adaptability? I think they can learn human thinking. The biology is different, but the mindset can be taught. What mindset is that? Taiho thought for a moment. That there's always a way to keep going, you just have to find it. The training program began 2 weeks later. Alien Marines from across the coalition came to learn from the human who had lost an arm and carried on. They expected to learn combat techniques or equipment modifications. Instead, they learned something much more valuable. They learned that obstacles were not barriers, they were puzzles to be solved. They learned that injury was not the end of capability, it was the beginning of adaptation. They learned that giving up was a choice, not an inevitability. Today we will practice equipment modification, Taiho announced to his first class of alien students. Everyone will perform their normal duties while wearing these restraints that simulate various injuries. The aliens looked nervously at the restraints devices that would block the use of limbs, reduce vision, or impair other functions. This is to teach us empathy for the disabled, asked a young Saurian Marine. No, Taiho said, strapping a device to his prosthetic arm that made it immobile. This is to teach you that disabled is a choice, not a condition. He picked up his rifle one-handed and began field stripping it. Your mission doesn't change because you get hurt. Your methods change. The goal stays the same. Over the following months, the program expanded. Alien units that had trained with human adaptation techniques showed remarkable improvements in resilience and problem-solving. They stopped seeing obstacles as insurmountable and started seeing them as challenges to overcome. 6 months after losing his arm, Taiho stood before an assembly of coalition military leaders from dozens of species. He had been invited to speak about human military psychology and its applications to multi-species forces. The question I'm asked most often, he began, is how humans cope with trauma and injury so effectively. The answer is simple. We don't cope with it, we use it. General Carthex leaned forward. Use it how? Every injury teaches you something. Every problem shows you a new way of thinking. Every obstacle makes you stronger and more creative. Taiho raised his prosthetic arm. I'm a better Marine now than I was before I lost my arm. How is that possible? Because I had to relearn everything. I had to think about every action, every technique, every piece of equipment. I couldn't rely on old habits or automatic responses. I had to be conscious and deliberate about everything I did. He gestured to the assembled officers. That level of conscious competence makes you better at your job, not worse. But the psychological impact ... is what you make it. You can see injury as a loss, or you can see it as an opportunity to become something new. Commander Veltar stood up. Are you saying that all species can learn this perspective? I'm saying that all intelligent species can choose their perspective. Biology might determine your limitations, but psychology determines how you respond to those limitations, and humans choose to see limitations as, what Taiho smiled, as starting points. The assembly hall was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, beings from dozens of different worlds began to applaud. It started with a few individuals and spread until the entire assembly was showing their approval in whatever way their species expressed appreciation.